And for effect, I'll open my can of beer at 9 p.m. on this. Is it Monday night? G'day from Infected Blood Australia News. Update and general bits and pieces I'll be talking about tonight. And, well, my goodness, I better have a sip of this beer. There's no alcohol in this. I think I've mentioned that before. If you ever watch these videos or join me live, I might have a chat. And I might say g'day to anybody who turns up, or I might not. I might just keep talking, and we can speak afterwards, or you can watch this video afterwards, I should say. Who have we got here? G'day Nadine, how are you? Welcome. So tonight, as I mentioned, we're going to have some guests, but the reason for tonight's chat. And g'day Nightingale Green, how you doing? Great to have you with us. The reason for tonight's chat is actually a relaxed bit of news from Infected Blood Australia. On Thursday evening, live at 8 p.m, we've got perhaps our biggest ever, well, certainly our biggest ever live that we've ever done. G'day there! Hooray! We've got some really good people turning up. So, on Thursday night at 8 p.m, we've got a really, really important event. And that's why I'm saying g'day Nightingale, ahoy! Ahoy. It's a very special word to me. Did you know that? Anyone that knows me, ahoy. And there's someone out there who knows what that ahoy means. Someone very special to me. Anyway, so this Thursday at 8 p.m, we have our most important event ever on Instagram. Now, you would have seen, perhaps, if you've been following, and I know people watching tonight have, our mate, g'day J-Boy, our mate Greg Ball, has been kind enough to speak, and courageous enough to speak, about being a victim of Australia's worst treatment scandal. Well, Greg has tried for years to get attention for what's happened to so many haemophiliacs in this country. I say so many haemophiliacs. Haemophilia is a rare condition. In the 1980s, an estimated 2,000 Australians with this bleeding disorder received contaminated treatments, okay? And we can't get any help for survivors or their families. We just can't. We've tried everything. We've written to every politician. I've been to every meeting over 30 years. I've tried everything. And in more recent times, my great mate, Greg, has been so courageous. He has haemophilia, and he's also had cancer 3 times, and he's struggling with cancer right now. But he's also had his own fantastic cancer story about overcoming the odds and beating cancers too. So, what an incredible guy. And on Thursday, we're having tried everything. What we're going to do is we've made the decision. The health of our group, the people in our group, as you might know, is not that great. And as people's cancer takes them, their health further down the road that we don't want them to go down, we're going to call out the British on Thursday night. Okay, what's happened here is that the Australian Medical Association, the British want to basically disavow all knowledge of what's happened down here, their effect on public health in Australia, and certainly their impact on Australia's worst public health scandal. And anyone watching might think that Australia's worst public health scandal is COVID-19, or the fiasco that public health officials have made of it. Well, it's pretty bad for those of us in lockdown, I agree, and those of us who've lost everything, and those of us being kept from dying relatives like myself. But actually, in terms of casualties and in terms of death, the worst public health scandal in Australia is the contaminated blood scandal, and certainly these haemophilia treatments. So on Thursday night, we're calling out the British. They knew these treatments were contaminated in the 1970s, and yet years later allowed this product, this contaminated treatment, and British doctors even, to come out here and distribute this to Australian patients, many of them children that are in this group, survivors, and also friends who've passed away, great mates. But on Thursday at 8 o'clock live, Greg Ball, okay, he's the head of Australia's Haemophilia campaign, he's a great mate, he If you've seen this post earlier, we're going to be asked the question, why do the Poms mistreat Australians? Why? Why do the British mistreat Australians? What's this about? Now, I'm not trying to stoke the fires of, an Anglo-Australian British conflict or spat, and neither is Greg. But we've made the decision, our group has actually, and we've spoken about it, is that, look, we've got no help down here. How can this be happening? We've got people, haemophiliacs down here, and their families receive no help. They acquired viruses from a treatment that the British allowed to come to Australia. And if you've seen that post, you'll know that it killed 1,400 Australians. And the company that made it here in Australia, basically they were indemnified. And it's just deja vu, isn't it, of where we are today in this terrible lockdown and all these terrible medical tyrants that are taking control of our lives. And Nightingale Green here says we're the dumping ground, it seems, full of convicts. Oh, Nightingale Green, careful. Well, we're no longer convicts, but they seem to want to make us convicts again, don't they? And I've got to tell you something. Do you know the British, they will help their own victims of their crimes against British patients, and so they should. Many are friends to our group. They're good people. But the British government are not. And they've killed people down here, and they've been part of the conspiracy to cover it up. And they're not helping Australian victims, the survivors or their families, because of that reason, because the cover-up continues. So this Thursday at 8 p.m. live, Greg Ball's coming on, and he's literally going to drop an absolute truth bomb on the British and what has to be the greatest medical crime ever committed against Australians. What a night. The greatest crime ever committed. The greatest medical crime ever committed against Australians. Wow, look at, there you go. And look at that. The audio cut out of me there. We've just cut to another scene.
Well, if you want to find out more about how someone with bone marrow failure like myself...
Okay, well that was supposed to... I had a bit of a technical hiccup there. It was supposed to not happen like that, but here we go. I'm cutting to this.
Oh, hello there. You just caught me with
Okay. Well, there you go. That was me putting a hat on and looking a bit stupid. And why was I doing that? Well, I've got a beer with me right now. It's a non-alcoholic beer. And I'm doing what I called earlier the beer simulator. Okay, so I'm going to have some magnesium now. There you go, magnesium. I'm just taking a bit of magnesium citrate for no other reason. And there's all sorts of different varieties. Okay? And the reason I take it is to relax. I'm having a non-alcoholic beer, okay? And I'm very conscious of my health. I'm not saying that if you drink beer, it's bad for your health. There can be ones that are not too bad in moderation. But for me, I like to prefer non-alcoholic. And I like the magnesium. So what happens is you actually, in the end, if you're in a social gathering or something, don't take too much. Because if you're in a social gathering and you take too much magnesium, you might actually take a fair bit of time in the bathroom, okay? That's one of the downsides of, not a downside, but, one of the things you've got to learn about natural health and supplements and vitamins and that kind of thing. It's a thing called bowel tolerance. So anyway, before I scare everybody off with talks about bodily functions, why am I mentioning this? Why have I cut to this bit of news for you? Well, because I've set up, this separate platform on Instagram, separate account, called Join High Venture. All right, now, Infected Blood Australia is the campaign for victims of Australia's deadliest medical scandal. If you go to our bio, and people watching tonight, of course, have been, thank you very much, you can support our call for a Royal Commission of Inquiry into the Australian Red Cross CSL blood scandal, okay? That's what we're here for. We're here to get an inquiry. We're here to get answers for people who've lost loved ones. And that's very important to us, okay? And we've just actually been joined by some new people to the group. G'day. Very, very happy for you to be with us. A very warm welcome. We've had some other contaminated blood victims and survivors join the group as well, and a very warm welcome to you. It is a warm welcome. I've actually got some good news for you. For the people that just joined our group, whether you be a victim of contaminated blood, whether you be a relative of a victim, whether you be someone concerned about the blood supply today, in a moment I'm going to be playing you a video actually about concern about the blood supply today. This is the concern of the vaccinated and what effect, if any, that might have on the blood supply. So if you just bear with me one moment, we will play you a small clip on that. But yes, let me just address that. Yes, so we've got this new account, Join Hive Venture. Okay, there's the logo. And I'll also be announcing a new podcast or vodcast. And as you may or may not know, I'm a technical twit. And what that means is that I don't even know what they mean. But apparently that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what you do these days if you've got something to tell people. And boy, have we got something to tell people on Join Hive Venture. We're going to be telling, or I'm going to be telling people what it's like to take on the public health tyrants. I first learnt about this medical tyranny that we're all living under right now. My first experience of it was as a kid. And now, decades later, here we are. And I've got many more of you understanding what some of the rest of us have been living with. Once they get their claws on you, you find out just what terrible people they are, what terrible decisions they make. You really do. They will never let go. I mean, if people don't believe me how bad they are, think about this. Contaminated blood was a global scandal. Virtually every other country has addressed this, but there's one country that hasn't. And that country is the one we're living in right now, Australia. And yet, it's doing multi-billion-dollar deals, the Australian government, with the vaccine and blood products company that are in part responsible for these 1,400 haemophilia deaths here in Australia, which they were, of course, indemnified for, just like they've been indemnified for, this same company, CSL, for their vaccines and their COVID-19 injections, okay? So I'm just going to say g'day to a couple other people joining us. We've got a bit of a crowd here on this impromptu meeting. Okay, wow. Monday night. I am actually privileged. Well, for those of you who've just joined, this is a bit of Infected Blood Australia news on this Monday night. What have I done so far? I've spoken about our biggest event ever on Instagram, which is coming this Thursday night at 8 p.m. This is where the head of our haemophilia campaign, where haemophiliacs in our group unite to call out the British government for basically not doing anything, for conspiring and colluding against victims of this treatment, these haemophilia treatments that have killed 1,400 and left survivors in terrible shape, left them to deal with viruses like HIV and hepatitis C, and left them to deal with the cancer that comes inevitably if you've had some of these viruses like haemophiliacs have. Did you know that 90% of Australia's haemophilia population from the 1980s onwards were infected with HIV and hepatitis C? And these English government, they know all about it, and yet they'll help British victims because they say they'll help British victims out of moral responsibility. And just lately, they've indicated they've accepted legal, liability. But when it comes to Australia, oh no help for Australians, eh? No help. My word. Do you know I was actually born in England? Can you believe it? I'm from Celtic background, Scottish, Welsh, bit of Irish there on my father's side, okay? And but I came to Australia right on my 4th birthday, just after my 4th birthday. So my only memories here belong here. And I found Australia to be the most generous place ever as a kid. I really did. It was a wonderland in that way. So when I saw the mistreatment of contaminated blood victims, I really didn't understand it, right? This is decades ago. Well, now we're getting to the bottom of it. It involves the British. They were telling the Australian government what to do. They were forcing them almost to mistreat Australians. as part of their role in this terrible scandal, this terrible conspiracy against medical patients around the world. And on Thursday night at 8 p.m, Greg Ball will be discussing it. And then right after that, of course, I mentioned the fact I was about to show you a very poor attempt at a commercial there. And me talking about...
It's beer o'clock. Anyone who's Australian knows what beer o'clock means. And anyone who's American knows what beer o'clock means. And anyone who's English, well, they drink warm beer. So,
well, I think we'll cut that one up. There you go. Sorry, that one didn't make it to be shared. But there you go. That's Join High Adventure. And what do I do on Join High Adventure? Well, Join High Adventure is this new campaign. There's some magnesium there. I wasn't trying to promote the brand. They might not be a very good brand. Please don't buy it. Please don't think I'm recommending it. Actually, that's a good segue, by the way. What just happened there? That was accidental, but it'll get me onto something. Now, you've seen me in tonight's Infected Blood Australia news and bits and pieces. You've seen me have a non-alcoholic beer, and I'll have another bit of magnesium now, right? You could use a thing called Mag Team. I like that as well at night. This is just some magnesium citrate. There you go. I've got some nice music in the background to relax me. We are in lockdown. It is getting stressful. There we go, right? I'll take the hat off now. And what I'll do is I'll adjust my lockdown hair. And I will tell you that what we'll do on this Join High Adventure is I'm going to try and put a podcast together, which I hope to share with people, and are going to in-depth into how does somebody with a chronic condition or even with a terminal illness, because you can still have life extension, right? I'm doing life extension right now. You know, people in our group, we've had death hanging over us all our lives, some of us. Many in our group have cancer right now. We've got blood cancer, we've got liver cancers, all sorts of cancers in our group, right? That's a sad thing. But it's not the end. People are living for a long time. We've got inspirational people in our group who are doing just that. And so what this is on Infected Blood Australia, it's a campaign for victims of contaminated blood, right? And we've got great respect for that. We've got great, enormous respect for people with haemophilia around the world. We've never confused their issue. The terrible treatment, the treatments that they had that were contaminated, that were knowingly given to them. There should be no confusion. They need to be given the optimum care, the optimum justice, and their families need to be compensated immediately, and whatever else is needed. Okay? But it has to happen for Australians and Australian haemophiliacs right now, this instance. And the fact that it's not is a crime. People are suffering and dying as a result. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up this new podcast and this new campaign called Join High Adventure. And what it is, I'll be giving people sort of in-depth insight into how people like myself survive the world's worst medical scandal. I mean, this thing was covered up. There was no help for us. Did you know that? When I was a kid, all there was just absolute BS and nonsense. And it was just awful. I won't share too much tonight, but I'll tell you what, my goodness, what an adventure. Truly, what an adventure. I've been in and out of courts. Oh, wow. And I'm not the sort of court type of guy. I didn't commit a crime. This is just for being a patient. This is because I bumped into this incredible world, okay, this world of cover-ups, of medical scandals, of medical tyranny. So Join High Adventure is where I'm going to talk to you about how we can survive pandemics and medical tyranny together. I won't say I'm an expert at it. I'll say I'm a survivor of it, of medical tyranny. How about that? A survivor of it, okay? Not an expert, but a survivor. And I'm going to share my tips. What are my tips? Well, you know, sometimes I get upset. I'm human. Sometimes I get angry. We've had some people die in this group. I really wish they'd never been given contaminated blood, okay, or contaminated treatments. I'm also angry at the destruction of records. But this Join High Adventure, there you are, there's me by the harbour. This Join High Adventure is where we're going to discuss what we can do together, okay, and how we can relax. How can we relax with the stress that we're having? Well, you're seeing me now. I'm having this non-alcohol beer, and I've had some magnesium this evening. And on Join High Adventure, the really exciting thing, why I hope you can join us and follow the account and follow us at when our website is built at jointhighadventure.com.au. You're going to have a very wonderful surprise. We are looking forward to sharing it with you. We haven't established this for no reason. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened in my life. I'm actually apparently, in pretty bad shape with what's coming, and I'm sure I'll probably be doing a fair bit of crying at various moments. But in the meantime, I can tell you that I'm feeling really happy to have you with me tonight. I'm really excited by this Join High adventure and by the guests that we'll be having on these amazing interviews. Okay, what sort of interviews are we happening? Okay, well, Join High Adventure, right? Health has become an adventure, hasn't it? Lockdowns, coerced jabs, lost your job, lost everything, tyranny, depression, stress, the actual supposed virus itself, your immune system, all sorts of things, right? Okay, so Join High Adventure, what we're going to do is we're going to survive, and I guarantee you if I've got anything to do it, we're going to thrive as well. Because I've survived these tyrants for decades and I haven't let them hold me down. No way. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn about natural health and about all types of medicine. If you're interested, we're going to get into the research. I'm going to be helped by some amazing researchers. I'm going to be interviewing some amazing people as well. People who've survived cancer, okay, and beat cancer, or I shouldn't say beat. I don't like the term beat. Sorry for saying that. I don't see it as a competition. I see it as something that we just have, that we go through in life. Okay, it's something that we go through that we all invariably will face. And I'll just read some people who are writing some things on screen here. Very kind of you to do so. It's the best time. Oh, we have a timeline. They're talking about the timeline on infectedbloodaustralia.com. If you go to our website, you can look at the timeline, which is an amazing timeline, which gives you in-depth insight into what happened in the contaminated blood scandal. But yes, so Join High Adventure, I really hope you can follow me there at Join High Adventure. So we're a campaign to talk about natural immunity. We'll have some relaxing beer o'clocks. I'm teetotal, but I'll try different non-alcoholic beverages. And I'll be taking different supplements and natural things, okay? And I'll even be vaping some herbs. Have you ever done that? I haven't done it. Have you ever vaped? There's legal herbs. Are they healthy? If they're healthy, I'll vape them, okay? So we'll be doing that on Join High Adventure. And we'll also be doing something really special, okay? Now, I'm going to give a plug. Hello, Nightingale Green. Do you remember Nightingale Green? A friend of yours. Look at the lights here, not very good. Sorry about that. It's because don't want to hurt your eyeballs with me in a bad light. You can see that. I'll get you a better light anyway. Let's see if we can do that. There you go. Well, there's a picture of me anyway that I posted. That's Jay Franklin. That's my reflection. That's Jay anyway. Gosh, look at me. I'll make a real hash of this. Anyway, that's Jay Franklin. Jay was a mate of ours. He passed away in 2017, and I had a final conversation with him. Nightingale Green also was able to have her own final conversations with Joe, and he wanted us to use his photos. So he wanted to live on in that way, and he will. He's going to be a big part of Join High Adventure, because there's something that Jay and I used to do when we used to talk, and it's how we got through, and we're going to be sharing how we got through. How do we get through mentally? How do we get through being victims of this cover-up of one of the world's worst medical scandals, okay? And this Join High Adventure will be interesting for that, because you see, not everyone could tolerate the treatments that they had for people like us. Those treatments were really harsh. I didn't take them. Oh no, people had said, you're not going to take the treatments. And they said, oh, you'll die. You'll die without the treatments. That's what everyone thought. And I was actually saying to people, I accept that. I didn't want to, but I was like, okay, I'll die because I didn't want those treatments. They were like chemo for some people. I've never seen people more sick than what I saw on that interferon. And I'm talking about people I've known with AIDS and HIV and all sorts. Sometimes that interferon, absolutely, I don't know, there was something real bad. And that's what they gave Hep C patients, right? So what we did to survive back then was we sort of, some of us used these treatments and others used natural means. So I prefer to try and use natural means, okay? And so I learned about that. And Jay, he knew a couple of things. He had a couple of tricks up his sleeve. And Jay helped me, and there's a few others in this group. They know who they are. And they had their own things, okay? That they did. Some people use acupuncture, okay? All right? And some people use supplements and all sorts of things. So, join High Adventure. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. Did you know that liver cancer now, is that Australia's biggest cancer? Is that the one? Liver cancer? Is that okay? Well, guess what? Did you know that Hep C is a leading cause of liver cancer? How many people knew that hundreds of thousands of Australians have been exposed to this potentially deadly virus Hep C? Okay? All right? There's some people who are still out there who don't know they've got it. And the government's not doing enough to tell people who were transfused with blood or given blood products before the 2000s to not panic, but to go out there and get tested, okay? So these things, join High Adventure. We're going to discuss things like fatty liver. Fatty liver, you know, this is a major issue today in Australia and around the world. And it, of course, can be its own problem with being something that could cause liver cancer. So we are going to discuss that. Now, on to something a bit different, okay, which might not be the right shift in tone, but I'm just going to play you this for a moment, which is about this issue of the vaccinated. And this comes from America. And it's about the vaccinated donating blood. Okay, let's
vaccine.
see.
You're gonna
okay, here we go. Let's get
COVID-19 vaccine. You're going to want to listen to this. The Red Cross says anyone who has received their COVID-19 vaccine cannot donate convalescent plasma to help other COVID-19 patients in hospitals. That plasma is made up of antibodies from people who have recovered from the virus, but the vaccine wipes out those antibodies, making the convalescent plasma ineffective in treating other COVID-19 patients.
Okay, well, now that was a news report from America about this COVID-19. I'll just put the background music on there so I don't shock people. But this is to do with this concern about the vaccinated, of course, donating plasma. Now, I just want to say something. I'm the president of Infected Blood Australia, and I've had a lot to do with tainted blood for decades, okay? I've had a lot to do with the research of it. I had a lot to do with lots of court cases to deal with it, all right? So I'm going to take this issue very seriously. We're not going to rush in here with anything. But what we're going to do is I've had an enormous amount of messages from people asking us at Infected Blood Australia to explore this issue further. What are the risks? Are there any risks? Okay? Are there any risks? Okay? Because I'm firmly of the view that the safety of Australia's blood supply is paramount. No exception. That's been the problem in the past. There's been exceptions. The Australian Red Cross lifeblood did terrible things with our blood supply. They've still not been brought to account. Okay? They used to offer blood donation in exchange. If you wanted to have a syphilis test or a Hep B test, they used to say, come on in, and we'll give you a free test in exchange for blood plasma donation. Well, here we have them here in America now. They're saying, well, the American Red Cross says they don't want the plasma of the vaccinated. What are your thoughts? What's happening exactly here in Australia? There's been people sending me videos of the Australian Red Cross lifeblood, seemingly giving mixed messages on this. What are the facts? We're going to explore this further at Infected Blood Australia. Please bear with us. As you say, we're a group that we're pretty ill. We've got viruses ourselves, but we are determined that Australia should have a very safe health system. And so I'm going to get and look into this, all right? And we will do a live on this issue about the vaccinated and what effect, if any, that could have, detrimental effect on the blood supply. I will say this, It's a very important point. Very, very important, everyone. And I'll leave you on this. And I thank you very much for having joined me tonight. But I will say this. You're hearing a news report from America.
COVID-19 vaccine. You're going to want to listen to this. The Red Cross says anyone who has received their COVID-19 vaccine cannot donate convalescent plasma to help other COVID-19 patients in hospitals. That plasma is made up of antibodies from people who have recovered from the virus, but the vaccine wipes out those antibodies, making the convalescent plasma ineffective in treating other COVID-19 patients.
Okay, well, I'm just going to leave you with this one big point. I hope you can tell people who are interested in this. Now, you can see the American Red Cross is saying, well, they don't want blood donors. They want to deter donations, blood plasma donations from people who've been recently vaccinated. But get this. The company in Australia that's manufacturing the AstraZeneca vaccine, CSL, who are also the manufacturer of blood products, they used to collect blood plasma, okay, from donors that were infected with viruses. This is the incredible thing. They used to actually ask donors who were infected with the deadly virus hepatitis C in the 1990s to keep donating blood plasma. Oh, and they said, they had ways to treat it and do this and that. And it turned out they were doing vaccine research or this sort of stuff now that they're doing, similar type of stuff with it, right? But you have to ask the question, is that the reason why 90% of haemophiliacs that use CSL's blood plasma products in Australia ended up with Hep C? The fact that they were allowing blood plasma donations to come from people who had Hep C? And so it gives you the real understanding that this could be a serious issue. And so I'm going to give it the respect that it's due. Okay? I don't believe in alarming or scaring anyone over things like this because we've been through a lot here at Infected Blood Australia. And, we've got great compassion for people who may be potential contaminated blood victims in the past and potential ones in the future. So I won't have any part in any sort of reckless stuff. And I'm not saying that anyone here in our group would or anyone else would. I'm just reminding myself and everyone that this is a serious issue. We have to be very careful. People's lives are at stake. And I don't just mean at stake with potentially having contaminated blood. I mean at stake through stress, through unnecessarily worrying people. But at the same time, we still have to ask these important questions. How safe is our blood supply now that we have this issue? And I have seen videos today about people saying that, yes, people in Australia are able to donate blood plasma and so on if they've been vaccinated. Well, perhaps that's changed. Well, could you keep me updated? Again, this is something I'll be investigating once I have more time, and it's something I'll also be exploring further on this new podcast, this new development that's coming called Join High Adventure, where we really are going to get into the scandalous side of things. And don't forget this Thursday at 8 p.m, please don't forget what has to be our most important night ever here on Instagram, which is this live where we call out the British for being involved in a conspiracy, a collusion against haemophilia patients in Australia. What a terrible thing. I predict this was going to be one of the big scandals between our nations. I really do. This is the greatest betrayal by the British, one of the great betrayals by the British in recent times. And oh my goodness, there's a post we shared earlier about it, which gives you the sort of details of what Thursday will be about at 8 p.m. I hope you can join us. I really do, because I love Australia. I'm not just saying that, the usual baloney people saying that. I love Australia. I suppose it's because what we're going through now, it's brought us closer, hasn't it? So there's some great positives. But yeah, as I get, as my condition advances as well, so I have my own health struggles, which I'm determined to get on top of, mentally, emotionally. Maybe I lose the war physically, but I want to have fun all the way through. I'm getting a bit sick of the old violin all the time. I've done 30 years of death and misery. I'm not putting other people down who want to do a bit of violin, but I want to do a bit of balanced, getting on with it, right? And so, yeah, I hope you can join me on Thursday night at 8 p.m, because it's a really big night for me as an Australian. It's a big night for Greg Ball as a haemophiliac, where we call out the British. We wanted them to do the right thing. We've tried everything. We've tried absolutely everything. And as they drag their heels over there, they've got their victims, rightly so, on financial assistance. They're still not doing enough for people over there, but they've left our victims here with nothing. And these people are struggling with cancer because of British lies about the safety of these medical treatments. Okay? So I thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you so much for all your support. As always, thank you so much. Wow. I guarantee you're going to see some amazing stuff by sticking with us here, and especially by joining us at Join High Adventure. I guarantee you that much. One thing I can guarantee you is you're going to be seeing some very interesting things over there. You can follow me on Instagram. My goodness. Until then, I'll see you next time, 8 o'clock here on Infected Blood Australia. Thank you very much. And I'll see you hopefully 8 p.m. Thursday night. I really do hope you could be here. We're taking on the British. We're taking them on. Come on, Australia. Please. I'd love to have you with me. Thank you. See you then.